Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Billy Porter slams Governor Ron DeSantis at the Stonewall Museum event in the gayest place on planet Earth.
It's all hands on deck right now. All hands on deck.
He's an Emmy, Tony, Grammy winner, and red carpet trendsetter, Billy Porter, in Wilton Manors Thursday night, and he's speaking out.
We let it happen.
The Hollywood A-lister speaking at a fundraiser for the Stonewall National Museum Archives and Library located in Fort Lauderdale. The sold-out event, raising money for the museum's LGBTQ history educational program. It helps schools across the country create a more inclusive curriculum.
It's about honoring our humanity. The demand for the honoring of our humanity, like we already do for everybody else.
Event organizers point to the recent controversial decision by the Miami-Dade School District voting against commemorating LGBTQ history in October.
The majority is a no.
Some board members feared celebrating LGBTQ history makers would violate Florida's parental rights and education law, the one critics call Don't Say Gay.
There's work to do. We have to fight for it. It doesn't just happen. I hope everybody understands, with what has gone on with the last 7 years, that nobody can sit on the sidelines and not engage.
Well, Broadway great Billy Porter was in South Florida on Thursday to raise money for Fort Lauderdale Stonewall National Museum. The Emmy, Tony, and Grammy winner, as well as red carpet trendsetter, came to Wilton Manors to speak out at the sold-out event to raise funds for the Stonewall National Education Project. The actor celebrated his birthday at the event by blasting Florida's recent spat of anti-LGBTQ plus policies enacted by Governor Ron DeSantis and his cabinet. Taking aim at the Florida governor and presidential hopeful DeSantis, who has enacted a number of anti-LGBTQ plus laws, including the controversial Don't Say Gay bill, Porter said in a sing-song response, "Gay, gay, gay, yes, we will always say gay." Since the start of the year, nearly 500 anti-LGBTQ plus bills have been proposed in states across America, many of them right here in Florida, including sports bans for trans youth, reducing access to gender-affirming care, and controlling where drag can even be seen and performed, alongside with LGBTQ plus content being removed from curriculums. Well, exciting. Billy Porter's announcement was great. I interviewed him earlier in the year when he was in bed, and I hear he was
on a cruise or something, didn't you?
On a cruise, and he was just as incendiary. I thought it was an interesting strategy of going right for the governor. The Stonewall National Education Project is a developing program that deserves a lot of attention here in South Florida, and so it is funding a program that was really excellent. And I couldn't attend because I was out of town, but you were there, Faye. By all accounts, I hear it was just a mammoth success.
It was wonderful. And, you know, Billy Porter said all the things that we were all thinking of, right? Like, you know, the fact, like how we got here, right? Like we put these people in place, our lack of drive after we got marriage equality. He spoke about all that. And then he came to the defense of Biden, of our president, which I loved, you know. He's like, you know, nobody's done more for our community than Biden has. And people need to remember that and stop effing with his age. Okay. His age has nothing to do with nothing. He's a fantastic president. Support him. If you're not with us, you're against us, and you've got to figure out where you want to stand in this. You know, he was gracious, he was classy, he was wonderful. He wore like a burqa that only he could work that shit. Okay, like only he could. But again, there was 200 people in attendance. It was a sold out event. He could have just taken 2 or 3 pictures and left. That man touched everybody, right? He signed everybody's book. Everybody of every color came up to him and had a story for him. And he stopped and took a moment to be with each and every person. Then he also fell in love with my best friend, Cal. But that's a whole other story. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was a wonderful, nice night. Kudos to Robert and the National Stonewall Museum and Archives for putting the event together. It was a classy night, man. It really was. It was wonderful.
And I've known Billy since the 90s in New York when I lived in New York. We used to go to the same gym and party with some of the same people. And I just want to give him more props and kudos because I just love seeing how he has grown into himself and how he is just using his platform to really shout it out and really just kind of tear it up and speak truth to power. Yeah. And he really has a love affair with South Florida, I believe.
Yeah.
Truly.
I've heard.
Orlando, from the standpoint of your advocacy at SAVE, doing an event for the National Museum, it's not per se a political event. His participation per se was not a political event. What does your eye say about what Porter did, calling out the governor?
So I think it's tremendous, right? Most people in celebrity status play it really safe. And in fact, what they shouldn't do is play it so safe because we need their voice. We need them to use their platform just the way that Billy does, right? He spoke truth to power. He said things that many people were thinking, but he's saying it in a microphone and on a stage where people are actually listening. And so that's tremendous. And I applaud him for that. And I just, echo the opinions that have already been shared. For him to do that is a big lightning rod, and we really appreciate it.
We remind everybody there's good news and bad news as this event is going on Thursday. The new polling over the weekend indicates that Ron DeSantis is 41 points behind Governor DeSantis. Too early to say
Behind Trump.
Behind Trump. It's too early to say the race is over for him or the goose is cooked. But he's got a long, long way to go. And Trump is doing better than all other 8 candidates combined. That's the good news in terms of DeSantis. I think if you're making some choice, partially what I think Billy Porter is drawing attention to at the Thursday event. The bad news is if that prediction is true, and that's going to be the eventuality of his horrendous national presidential campaign that he's launched and has not been able to sell to America, it means he will shortly be returning attention to Florida. Ooh. It's terrible. Ooh.